Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and thank you as always for tuning back in. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Layla, the Lenormand reader, and today folks we're doing another pick-a-card reading. So as you can see, I've got 4 stones here, which means we have 4 different options for today's reading, and I have one deck which I'm going to divide into 4 piles. So a single Lenormand deck has 36 cards, and divide that by 4, we get 9. So we're going to do 4 9-card portraits. The question for today is, what is meant to happen next in your relationship? Now, I do have in mind a more romantic kind of relationship, but it might be something else for you. So just tune into that for this reading. And you might also want to tune into the different stones as I divide the deck into 4 piles of 4. So let's go right ahead and do that. Okay, so here are our 4 piles of 9 cards each. As always, you will find the timestamps in the description box. By all means, pause the video if you need to tune into a stone or think about this a little bit longer, and I will see you in your reading. Okay, Cat's Eye group, here we are with your 9 cards. These are the ones that I dealt, and I'm going to keep them in the order that I dealt them in, and let's place them into your portrait to see what is meant to happen next for you in this relationship. Okay, Cat's Eye group, here are your cards. Look at the scythe and coffin. Cat's Eye group, this is a final combination of endings. So it's very clear to me that something is going to end. But what also stands out to me is the fact that you have the garden. So I'm thinking, Cat's Eye group, that this may not just be about one specific relationship, but it could be a group of people, a certain environment that you want to remove yourself from. And that's because the scythe being in the middle, this is a card of sharp separation and letting go. And we also have it next to the coffin. But it is very beautiful to see the star in your cards. This is a healing card. And I'm wondering, Cat's Eye group, if this is really coming from you, where you want to move on from this environment. I also think it is well advised that you move on from this environment. So let's build these messages from the ground up. Let's get into the details of this. In the first diagonal, we have the dog, the scythe, and the garden. So the dog is the card of friends and friendships. And I feel, Cat's Eye group, that because the dog figures as your first card, you feel like you want to either change this relationship into a friendship. So if it's a romantic relationship or if there are prospects, I think you want to maintain it at that level of a friendship. And also, if this is about your prospects for a love relationship, then the dog would certainly suggest a friendship instead. So that is a pretty clear message. But what is really key is your separation from this environment. And when I look at the tree, scythe, and cross, we don't only have the idea of an ending from the scythe itself, from the scythe with the coffin, but also from the scythe and tree. And this is a combination of uprooting, so picking up and leaving. This can be a pretty deep change for you, Cat's Eye group. Now, what's also interesting is the cross. And the cross brings important matters into the picture. This can be a big decision for you. But what I'm also thinking, Cat's Eye group, is that you may outgrow a certain environment. Maybe you feel at this point that it is no longer aligned with you. Maybe you feel that you've outgrown it, that you no longer resonate with it. And so I feel that you want to pick up and leave. And even if it's a bit difficult and you might do it with a bit of a heavy heart, I think there's a calling at play here where you feel this is meant to happen and you want to take the steps to do this. Now, when we look at the dog, fish, and cross, it's interesting to see the fish in this context. The fish is a card of money and work. It's great for prosperity, especially when it has positive cards around it. But in the context of relationships, Cat's Eye group, this is more about you striking out on your own, being more self-reliant, being more entrepreneurial. So in the context of this group here, I think that you want to take care of yourself more. Maybe you want to dissociate from the group because you want to do things for yourself. And with the cross here, you may be in for some projects or your own path, or a project or a business or some kind of venture that you want to take care of. And so it may be time to remove yourself from this environment so that you can actually pursue that. Now, in the second row, we have the clear combination of an ending. The Scythe and Coffin is a pretty final combination for endings. And we have the Rider. So the Rider is interesting. And this is really the card that tells me that you're the one who may want to do this, like it's coming from you. The Rider is a card that is proactive, it is ambitious, it also is very good at taking things in stride. So I feel that you're really ready to move on. You just want to pick up and get going with your projects and get busy with your things, and I think that you really want to bring this to a head at this point. It's also a good card to advise you to do this. So if you're having doubts or if you're not sure if this is the right thing to do, then the Rider would suggest that it is. And on top of that, we have beautiful cards like the Star. So the Tree, Star, and Garden. Now this is an interesting set of cards. Apart from being very bright and very beautiful, the Tree tends to be a solitary card. It tends to suggest, going off on your own and sitting down under a tree and, meditating and taking time out, just an all-around well-being card of peace and wisdom, and also of feeling grounded. And with the Star and Garden, this might be success in a certain environment, but I don't think it's the same as what we're seeing with regards to removing yourself from this environment. Instead, I think this is more about your peace of mind. And also the time you spend on your own to nurture yourself. So I think this works really well with what we see at the top. The idea that you want to nurture your own thing, so I think it's important that you're getting this environment, these relationships out of the way. And I really do feel it's more than one relationship, but it might be one specific one for you. Because it is time to take a step back and relax and also do your thing. I also think that you are in a growing phase. The Tree is a card of growth. The Star is, yes, it's all around wish fulfillment, but it's also about aspirations and, the things we dream about. And with the Fish and Cross at the top here, I really think that you're looking to expand and grow. And so this relationship environment that we're seeing through the Garden could be in the way. And you want to move away so that you can create space and time for you to nurture your ambitions and to move forward with that. It's also possible that maybe you find a different environment. I think this can come through the work you do on your own or the new path that you pursue on your own. But I think what's really key here is to nurture your growth and to pursue your goals and your ambitions. And if this environment, these connections are in the way, then now is the time to remove them. And I think you know that. And even if it comes with a bit of, maybe I'm not really seeing pain, well, maybe Scythe and Cross, a bit of pain, I still think that it's the right thing to do. Now, the Dog, Rider, and Tree. Again, this is another combination of growth, of pursuing your goals, of moving ahead with your life. And I also think that I feel there's like a turning away and going down your own path. I feel that because the Rider is has its back to these cards. So I think you're going to put this behind you and move forward pretty quickly, Cat's Eye Group. I think you're going to be busy with your own life and your own projects. So again, even if this is a bit of a difficult transition or you release yourself from this social environment with a bit of a heavy heart, I think you'll quickly be on your way pursuing your good stuff here, all of the good stuff that's lined up for you. And remember, we have the beautiful Star that is an all-around wish fulfillment card. The Fish, Scythe, and Star is interesting. So the Scythe would normally be challenging, but in this context, I think it's really more about not wobbling anymore, not holding yourself back anymore, not hesitating about the things that you need to be doing. This is a line that really encourages you to pursue your goals, pursue your ambitions, and possibly in some sense to cut any losses. I'm seeing this in the context of the relationship where I think maybe you've been held back, and now is the time to release any restrictions on you so that you can pursue your growth and move forward freely. So I'm really seeing that your ambitions and your hopes and your dreams and your personal development and even the bigger milestones that you're aligned for in your life are really coming into play in this relationship context, Cat's Eye Group. I think this is a time to be honest about if some relationships are holding you back, are restricting you, are holding your growth off. Now is the time to make these deep changes so that you can actually pursue your goals. And with the cross, coffin, and garden, I have a pretty clear combination again of an ending. The cross and coffin, a bit like the scythe and coffin, can point to the idea of death and dying and the ends of cycles. And as you know, these aren't literal interpretations necessarily, but they do point to endings and really bringing things to a close. And we see this with the garden, and so you may well be moving away from this environment. And it is time to bring it to a close. And you know that it is the right time to do this. This is meant to be a Cat's Eye Group. This is a good thing. It is meant to happen. I think that your growth and your path are very much highlighted. And I think this is a pretty critical turning point for you, Cat's Eye Group. This is not just about, a relationship is getting on your nerves and you're moving on. This is about assessing your social environment relative to what it's doing for you, relative to how it's enabling or not enabling your path forward, and coming to the conclusion that you have outgrown it and that it's time to move on. Now, when I look at the inner diamond, these cards here, the Rider, Fish, Coffin, and Star, this is a really lovely message of healing, thanks to the Star, and healing in the wake of the Coffin, which is the ending. The Rider and Fish and Star really highlight your goals and your path ahead and your ambitions. So it is definitely time to move away from anything that could be restricting you or holding you back and really pursuing your ambitions with courage and with momentum. And I think that you'll find that once you get past this, you'll be able to pick up pretty quickly and you'll be well on your way pursuing your goals. I also think that there's a lot of solitude kind of energies in your cards. So regardless of the specifics of your relationship and situation in the relationship, Cat's Eye Group, I think it is a good idea to step back and to take time out. So if this means stepping away a little bit to let things cool off, that is definitely advised. If it means taking a break so that you try to achieve a different perspectives on matter, that too is wonderful. If it's not about a final ending, this is at least about taking time out and trying to achieve a different perspective on what this relationship or these relationships are about. So definitely endings are in view for you, Cat's Eye Group. Definitely partings and taking time out. And also, quite interestingly, getting busy with your life and doing interesting things and pursuing your goals and ambitions. It's important that you remove any restrictions on your path and to move past them so that you can achieve your goals and your dreams. Because these are highlighted in your cards. They are highlighted in your cards, very much so. And another piece of advice that can come through Cat's Eye Group is that if you're going to maintain this relationship in whatever form it may take in your specifics, I would say emphasize the friendship first. So if you are pursuing a love relationship, for example, then it's a good idea to spend more time getting to know each other as friends first before you make commitments or you commit too quickly, and things like that. So, and I would also say unwind a little bit from relationship. So if it's not a final ending for you, and we're saying this is about stepping back, there is an energy of you pulling yourself back from the relationship and not making it too involved, you're not too invested in it anymore. You're sort of unwinding a little bit your position in this relationship or in this context. But definitely, Cat's Eye Group, we are seeing in the very least a time out or a phase where you spend more time on your own, although really the message is clear about a much more final ending. And the thing about this and the way your reading is special is that it is key for you to move on to better things, bigger things, where you achieve your goals, you pursue your ambitions. So again, I'm really seeing this as you outgrowing the relationship or this environment so that you can pursue your own thing. And I think it's important that you do this at this time, that you do it at this point in life, and that you really take stock of it all and be ready to put it behind you and move forward in pursuit of your goals and ambitions. Now, if you're not feeling that you can do this so sharply right now, although I feel it might have built up for you over time, then at least take time out. Step back and get some perspective about where this might be heading and think about how much it contributes to your life, to your goals, how supportive this relationship or this environment is, and from there, make your decision. But the way I'm seeing it, and I'm sure the way you're seeing it as well through these cards, Cat's Eye Group, is that it is time for a deep change, in fact. Now, something that I can't dismiss as a possibility is that perhaps you're moving or you're leaving. We do have the rider. You are uprooting through the tree and maybe landing in a different place. And this could also be, well, actually, so many of the lines are pointing to this because the garden is in this position where so many lines meet. And so you could be in for a move that removes you from the relationship. And so if you're wondering, if that is your scenario and you're wondering if the relationship has a future after this move or this change that you're going to go through, then I'm thinking, Cat's Eye Group, probably not. Probably you will put it behind you and again move on to better things. And I think you will be busy with that. But again, take a step back if you need to. Otherwise, if you're ready, let it go and move on and get busy with your very exciting projects and your very exciting path ahead. So let me know how you like these ideas, Cat's Eye Group. I'm really looking forward to your thoughts and comments. Very best of luck with this. And until we meet again, thank you so much for watching and take very good care of yourself. Hello Lapis, here we are with your reading. I've got the 9 cards that we drew or dealt out at the beginning. And these are 9 cards that we're going to lay out in a portrait. And I'm going to keep them in the same order that I dealt them in. I tend to prefer to do that. So let's go right ahead and deal out your portrait, see what is ahead for you or what is meant to be next for you in this relationship. Okay, Lapis, here is your 9-card portrait, and as you can see, we have the woman right in the center of the portrait. So all of the cards are used across all 4 readings, so of course all of the cards are going to show up somewhere in this pick-a-card, but it's really good to see the woman right in the center of the portrait because it really focuses the relationship and it really highlights the intention of the reading as well. We also see the snake in your portrait, Lapis. The snake is a bit of a concerning card, but again, it's going to show up somewhere in the 4 readings. The snake is typically associated with rivalry, envy. It is the card that is best associated with deception and even someone interfering in the relationship, like a third party. Now, just from looking at these cards, Lapis, I'm not really seeing that this rival or this person gets to you. And the reason I feel that way is because of the knights. So I'm not seeing a lot of clues directly around it, but when I knight the card to the child and house, I feel maybe they would go away, so to speak. We have some nice cards in your portrait. We have the heart, which is great for relationships, and we have the lily and house. So this line, I feel, is really supportive for the long term. And we have the child along with the stork. Now that is really interesting. So I am picking up a family. Lapis, this can be a relationship that leads to this kind of stability and this kind of commitment for the longer term. Now, I'm not dismissing the possibility that you could be thinking of someone outside of a love and romance relationship It might be work, for example. It can be family, like your own direct family, your parents, and so forth. But I still think that you have some long-term prospects, and the potential interference that could come from the snake, I think, will be put at bay. But the snake can also come to your advantage, so it might be telling you something, telling you to do something, or it can reflect aspects of you. That is also possible. So let's go ahead and weave these cards together in more detail and build your portrait from the ground up. The stork is a card of change and movement. It is best associated with house moves, but it's also a card that figures a lot with family and pregnancy, especially when it comes with the child. So the stork could really be bringing some exciting events for you in the relationship. But when I see the lily and the house and the portrait, Lapis, I think these changes are longer term changes. They're bigger deal kinds of changes. And I think they involve a bit of a change to the way you've lived your life so far. So I think the cards can go a bit deeper, mainly because we have the family aspect, the lily and house, they're longer term cards. I also think that because the stork figures on your first position, I would advise you to be willing to change. So if changes are needed in the relationship, in the atmosphere that nurtures the relationship, I think, Lapis, you should be willing to do them, take initiative to create that space. Now, the woman is in the center, highlight this person. She could represent that person or she could represent you. And the heart is a positive card. It brings a lot of good wishes, kindness, positive emotions, and compassion. Now, we do have the clouds on top of the heart that can, sort of confuse it a little bit or cause a bit of tension. But in this line, I think there are positive steps forward with this person. Now, this can manifest in a number of ways in your specific environment or your situation. Perhaps things were stalled. So if things were stalled, I think you can look forward to communication kicking in. Yes, we have the letter and snake and the snake in clouds, but I think the stork can mean that you might like to reach out yourself because it is a card of initiative. But then if there's no response or you're not getting the feedback or there's no, like a similar feeling towards you, then you can sort of do your own thing. But as it stands in this first diagonal, there are positive steps forward in your relationship. Now, the lily, woman, and snake, this is where we could see a rival. The lily can point to someone who is older. She can also reflect a professional, someone who's generally well established, or she can be someone who has been in the picture for a while or in your partner's picture for a while. And the thing about the snake is that she could be envious. She might have her eye on the relationship, and she could be someone who interferes in it. Now, the snake, clouds, and heart is a tricky combination. I do think that if we are looking at a third party interfering in your relationship, Lapis, I think that it can represent someone who is trying to, get their way in the relationship. At the same time, I think you could be aware of this, and I don't feel it really rocks your boat, to be honest. I think you see it for what it is. Maybe you need to manage it, but in general, I feel you have a lot of strong foundations here that support you in your relationship. I also think she might go away because the snake is also a card of turning away. And with the clouds and heart, it can mean that she doesn't get her way with the relationship. And I think she could also have her own issues at play. And I think that's also part of the picture that you see. So it doesn't really affect you. I really don't feel that it affects you strongly. Even if it's something to be aware of, I don't think it's something to confront. That is an additional message that I'm seeing clearly through your cards, Lapis, is that if there is a rival, if we are looking at some kind of noise or interference in your relationship, I'm not saying that it asks for a confrontation or an aggressive approach, or even a conversation, I have to say. The letter can be a card of communication, but I think you want to temper that communication, especially because we have the snake next to it. So if you are going to say something or reach out, I think first you might not get the response that you're looking for. It might not land on that person's ears, and it's very likely that it might not be worth your time. So if you're going to do this, assess your situation and think about if, what kind of impact it would make. The stork letter and snake can mean that you take initiative to reach out, but I feel that the snake could be discouraging you from doing this. So if you're inclined to reach out or get in touch, think about it, or at least time it well. It's also possible, Lapis, that you are actually privy to a secret, or that you find something out, okay? Again, I don't think you should share it. I don't think you should act on it. I'm seeing a calm, stable spread with a bit of noise around there, but I really feel that you should keep it at bay. So don't let this noise interfere in your relationship. I think if there is noise, like another person, envy, other factors possibly, I think they're gonna settle more or less on their own, and I think you should get busy setting up your life. And yes, I do think it's possible that this life involves this person. Now, the child, woman, and clouds can point to a new relationship, okay? But because of the clouds and a T crosses the snake and heart, this is about, again, if it is about rivalry in your context, I'm not seeing that it kicks off for that person. Instead, I'm seeing the stability element coming for you in the bottom line of the portrait. More broadly, Lapis, I'm not so sure it's the right time for a new relationship. And if this woman is in your relationship, then I would want to be careful about how much you trust this person, what you tell them, because we have this line here that T crosses the woman along the child. So this line can take on a number of scenarios in your situation. So when it comes to your personal relationship, there could be some noise. I don't think this noise interferes in it. If it is that in your relationship, again, I don't think it goes far. I think you can put it at bay. And if there are additional relationships or new relationships that you're looking at, maybe not necessarily in a personal way, maybe a bit broader, like friendships and so on, then just make it a point to get to know someone a bit better before you entrust them with who you are, what you're about, or even this information. Now, this bottom line, this is an exciting line, and so is this one. I was looking forward to getting here. The lily, house, and heart is, two hearts in a home. The lily is the card of life path and the longer term. So really, this could be about sharing a home with someone and building something for the longer term, I have to say. So, when I see these cards, I really feel that the issues here are somewhat downplayed because these cards are so much longer term. They're calm, they're weighty. These cards seem a bit frivolous and temporary. So I really feel that the noise that could be interfering in your relationship, or possibly personal issues that you're having in the relationship, such as doubts through the snake and clouds, I really think they're going to be downplayed in favor of the longer term picture. So the bottom row can really point to sharing a home, starting a family with this person, and really building something for the long term. Now, the stork, child, and lily is another very exciting combination in the context of relationships, because the stork and child is the combination of pregnancy. Classically, I personally like more cards to see this, but I do have them. We have the heart, the relationship context, the house, and the lily. And the lily is sometimes a card of health. It is a card of the life path, like we just said. So this can really be about starting a family. And I have to say, Lapis, that if this is something that you're wondering about, I think you're heading there. It's just that some things might need to be ironed out. whether that is a personal issue that you're currently having in the relationship, or that there could be some external noise coming in. If you have bigger doubts, then hold off a little bit, but I do think it's going to be worked out. And I think it's going to be worked out peacefully and calmly. I feel that there's a bit of an issue here, and then it sort of lands and it solidifies in a tangible situation, well captured by the house and Lily. This idea of a family, of stability, and sharing a life together is, I have to say, really, really possible, Lapis. Now, the letter woman and house is news coming to a woman or from a woman into your home situation here. I can't dismiss the possibility that the news is connected with the issues that we saw here, but it might be something independent and that happens separately. And so here there is like news or communications, but I'm wondering, in view of this situation here, if it might not be something more formal, like paperwork or agreements. So yes, this can be marriage. It can also be things like prenuptial agreements, other paperwork that solidifies the relationship. I think there can be an element of formality that is coming into play. And if I were to knight these cards or draw them into an arrow, you know, the lily and letter can bring in the idea of a contract. And with the heart, well, that just might be some kind of marriage or agreement, or, you know, other formats that this kind of arrangement can take. So I can't dismiss that this is a strong possibility for you, Lapis. And then finally, we have the tricky line here, the snake, clouds, and heart. So I think if this isn't about arrival, I think maybe you're having a bit of fear about the relationship and how seriously you want to take it and how serious the relationship should be moving forward. Again, I think this works itself out, Lapis, and I don't think you should act on it. So I want to caution you against that. Maybe a calm conversation, maybe some indications, but until you sort yourself out and your thoughts and your feelings out, I don't think you should act on it, because I feel that if you do, it might backfire when it's not necessary. So just take it easy. If you're having doubts and fears about moving forward more seriously in the relationship, then take it easy. You know, there's nothing that you have to do, not that I can tell from here anyway. And you can sort of just think to yourself, iron out your thoughts and feelings, sense check how you feel about all this. And then when you're ready, you'll be able to move on. But again, I'm really seeing calmness, stability, and a sense of foundation in your cards. And I see these cards as a bit of noise that are going to be worked out. And again, if this were pointing to a rival or someone who is interfering in the relationship, then I don't think they really get their way. They might cause a bit of noise, but the foundation and the stability is really to your advantage with the stork and the house here with the lily. So overall, Lapis, this is looking like something for the long term, and the issues that you're having here could be for the short term. If there's a rival or someone trying to interfere in the relationship, I don't think you should cause a commotion. I think you should handle this calmly. And if you are having doubts about your relationship, I also think you should handle it calmly and not act on it. When you're ready, I think you might move into something longer term and more committed, Lapis, a family, a life together, sharing spaces, other important things together as part of your life is definitely in the cards. Family is highlighted, privacy, your closer circle in life is highlighted, and that might also be an area where you want to keep noise outside of your privacy, outside of your private life, and not have people interfere in your personal life in this sense. You could be drawing up paperwork. If there are issues here, then, get into the details. It's important. But also, if you happen to find out some information, hold off on sharing it. Just, sense check a better time to do this, the right time to do this. Right now, it's more about quietness and calm and building these foundations or building on top of these foundations and keeping the noise at bay. So I think these are positive cards. Lapis, let me know how you feel they resonate with you and your situation. Let me know if this turned out to be a rival or your personal sense of, anxiety, just concerns about moving forward in the relationship. But overall, I think it is a very positive, although calm, a bit of a quiet spread, but really positive for the relationship. Now, I just want to add an additional possibility to interpret these cards if you were thinking about a professional relationship or other relationships that are not related to your personal life. Then I think you can look forward to doing really well. You could be moving into a new job, if not a new career altogether. That is possible. And clearly here, someone helps you with this. But again, the possibility of rivalry is at play, and we have the snake, clouds, and heart that can indicate similar things. Again, if you're having doubts or concerns or anxiety about this new involvement that is indicated by this side, clarify matters, but also take it easy, so don't come on too strong. Maybe some things will be worked out in time, maybe just being a bit patient, but handle it diplomatically. Don't express everything you have in mind. And if you are privy to some information, then be sure you hold off on sharing it until you know if it's right to or not. So Lapis, I think generally quite positive, stable, the long term very much in focus. Home, family, stability, sharing your life, the long term is very much in view. And what could be coming across as some kind of challenge, I think is a glitch, maybe a bit more than a glitch, a bit of a complication that you're ironing out, and then you'll be on the other side of this. I think rivals end up leaving. I don't think you need to confront or be aggressive in any way. There is definitely a calm, steady feel to the relationship, and that I think to the reading, and I think that is very much part of the answer to the question. The energy of the reading, not just the surface meaning of the cards and the lines. There's an energy of walking into a longer term future here, and a bit of anxiety that might come with that, Lapis. So let me know again how you like these ideas. Lapis, leave me your thoughts and comments. I'm looking forward to them. Very best of luck with these big steps, or what look like big steps forward. I'm looking forward to your updates about it. And until we meet again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and take very good care of yourself. Okay, Opalite, here we are with your cards, and I've got the 9 cards that I dealt out at the outset, and I'm going to keep them in this order. We're going to deal them out into a 9-card portrait and see what is meant to happen next for you in this relationship and this connection. Okay, Opalite, here is your beautiful 9-card portrait. I think these are some beautiful cards to get in the context of relationship. Like another option of this pick a card, I got the person card right in the middle. And that's Lenormand for you. It sort of works really well. It aligns really well with the question. It's very in your face. And I'm just really impressed that in both options of this pick a card, I had both significators figure in the center of the portrait. So these are some very beautiful cards. We have both the sun and the moon. We also have the beautiful clover for you, Opalite. Now, the mouse is the only challenging card of the portrait. The bird can be sometimes, but it's between 2 positive cards. So the positive aspects of the bird are going to come out. Just giving the portrait a bird's eye view, I get a general sense that you may have felt a bit of wobbliness, a bit of doubt in the relationship, maybe recently or more, maybe for a while. And maybe you were having doubts about whether it is heading in the right direction for you, if it is heading anywhere at all. And so there could have been some doubts and hesitations about the relationship. But when we see the anchor, especially in these positions, so the anchor towards the right and then the wobbliness elements towards the left, it's very likely that you come to the conclusion that this is a supportive relationship and you stick with it. The Anchor is the card of staying put, and it is very much about keeping. And on top of that, we have the beautiful Sun and Clover in this column. So I really think that just giving this portrait an overview, I think that at some point soon enough, you're going to be able to put your doubts aside and rely on this relationship as something supportive and positive. And also, if just in general, maybe not just you, but you and the other person in the relationship, you know, if there was a wobbly dynamic in it, it stabilizes and it comes together in a very beautiful space with a lot of positive energy. And of course, the man being in the center of everything highlights this person. So the man can represent you, or the other person is totally flexible, but it's really nice to see the significator in the center, especially when it is surrounded by these beautiful cards. So let's delve more deeply into your portrait, Opalite. We have the ship as your first card. So it covers you at the top, and the ship is not very committed when it comes to relationships. I can maybe suggest that this is the case for the other person as well, or maybe it's just the energy of the relationship. But then we see the Anchor on the other side of this. So it's a very clear message of traveling and arriving, traveling and landing. So if there was a path or some kind of crossing that you and the other person were going through, then it does come to a solid still, and it does land, it does arrive. So the idea of wobbling is going to be stopped, and you will find that you're in a secure place as well. Now, the ship can be physical travel, and we also have the road and the bird in the portrait, so really the idea of travel can come through. And maybe there is a distance element here, or maybe you were physically apart for a while. But again, because of the Anchor, we see there is a coming and a landing. So that is a very positive message. Now, the Mouse, Man, and Clover is also very positive. The Mouse is a card of mistrust normally when it comes to relationships. It's also the card of issues and problems, little things here and there that sort of compromise the path. And we see that it is part of this left-hand column, which we'll get to in a bit. But what's really beautiful is that we have the Clover on the other side of this. So if there were doubts about the person, if the person was having doubts, if there were issues between the two of you, perhaps little arguments here and there, depending on what specifically is going on in your relationship, I think you can look forward to some beautiful resolutions here. And also, what's so nice about the Clover, especially with a powerful card like the Sun, is that the doubts are sort of washed away. So it's not that they sort of linger or you continue to be aware of them or it remains, you know, something to check on, but it's like there's a healing. It's like it washes away and you can turn the page and completely forget about these issues. So that is a very, very beautiful message. Now, the ship, bird, and clover at the top here, possibly pointing to a trip in a physical sense, but also communication is highlighted. It's like maybe some gap needs to be closed and you're able to have a conversation and there's a strong coming together. The clover has a powerful cleansing and resolving kind of energy. It's an all-around good fortune card. So I think that a positive conversation can ensue. I also think there's like a light at the end of the tunnel, kind of dynamic happening here. Maybe you've had doubts and you weren't sure what to make of them, but then we see here that there's a clarifying and some kind of, like I said, a washing away over these doubts. And the road, man, and sun is similar. So notice the similar structure. We only have the person card in here, but we have a travel, like a crossing, a pathway kind of element, and then a very bright card. And we have the crossing and the pathway as well here, and a very bright card. And also in this diagonal and in this other diagonal, similar messages coming through. The mouse is not a movement card in that sense, but the wobbliness that is associated with these cards, these travel cards, they are resolved in the later cards. So there's this very consistent structure across these lines. Very, very interesting. We also see it in the in this column as well. So the road man and sun is probably a reunion or a coming back together, a coming together. I think the gaps close, and this non-committal energy that's associated with the ship, road, and bird when it comes to relationships, I think is resolved and it's clarified. And the mouse, moon, and anchor is also another beautiful line suggesting understanding and compassion and a coming together. So again, I'm seeing that the doubts, the wobbliness, the issues are resolved and really washed away. And I really think you will regain your confidence in this relationship. I think both of you will feel that it is actually a very supportive relationship, and you can really put behind you these issues. So these issues are the ship, road, and mouse. And this could have been a parting, a disagreement, and also a bumpy kind of ride, as you moved forward in this relationship. And then also a physical distance issue could have been the situation for you. But again, it's really nice to see this in the left-hand side of the portrait, because it's then resolved in the later parts. The bird, man, and moon is an invitation of sorts. It's appreciation and kind words being said. We also have the clover next to the bird and the sun next to the bird. So some very positive communications are ahead. And it's possible that there is an invitation to connect or to reconnect, and clearly a deepening of the relationship and the next steps moving forward. So very, very encouraging. And then the clover, sun, and anchor is the brightest line of your portrait. It is a definite yes in a positive sense. It answers your hopes, and it really solidifies the connection. Again, this is a powerful healing combination. There's a lot of light and security. And so very clearly, the doubts and the wobbliness that we saw earlier are going to be resolved, and the relationship is going to have a strong hold on its foundation. So a beautiful place out of which to grow the relationship moving forward. I am paying attention to this diamond here because we have the sun and moon at a diagonal, and the sun and moon is a combination of love through their archetypal associations with the masculine and the feminine. And again, a bit of wobbliness indicated through the road and bird. So either that is a trip, possibly a happy trip, or a communication of sorts, probably one that closes the gap. These are some really bright cards that really support the relationship moving forward. And so the doubts, again, they can be put aside for a better future and happy times ahead. Now, I read these cards in the context of love, and I think that may be the strongest indication of them, but it doesn't mean that the cards won't apply in other contexts as well. I think the idea of a collaboration can work really well with these cards through the sun and moon and the ship. And also, if there were similar doubts here, again, these are resolved. You hear good news, you hear an offer, it could be exactly what you want, and you will most probably embrace it and accept it. So the next steps in your relationships are solid, they are positive, and they wash away any of the issues that you might have experienced moving in the past. So moving forward, it is a very positive energy. So a number of scenarios can play out. If you were thinking of moving away from each other, I think the portrait is pretty clear that you'll stick together. If this is a new relationship, it might have been a bit challenging at first kicking off the relationship, but then it works out. So anything like, little embarrassments or little issues kicking off the connection are going to be quickly washed away, and you'll move into a much more solid, much more supportive situation. And the cards are great for work and career and collaborations. They could involve travel. They could involve outreach to different markets in different locations, different countries. These can all be well highlighted, and certainly you have the support of someone. If it comes to things like details and negotiations, then it is a good idea to vocalize any of the issues you have and, take advantage of the connection to make sure you know what you're moving into, and so that you can move into it with confidence without worrying about any potential gaps down the line. This is very positive. It leads to wonderful successes. Very warm portrait. Lots of light and heat. Beautiful warmth here coming through the cards. Support, trust, certainty, and resolution. So let me know how you like these messages, Opalite group. Leave me your thoughts and comments. I'm really looking forward to them. Beautiful messages again. Very best of luck with it. And until we meet again, thank you so much for watching and take very good care of yourself. Okay, Brandberg group, here we are with the 9 cards that I originally dealt out. And I am going to keep them in this order like I typically like to do. And we're going to deal out your 9 card portrait. So let's go right ahead and see what is ahead for you in this relationship. What is meant to be next for you. Okay, Brandberg group, these are some really interesting cards. I am getting the whip. Of course, all cards from the deck are going to show up somewhere in the Pick-A-Card readings, but I'm getting a really different vibe from these cards, from the Tower, Whip, and Bear in this context. And I'm very happy to see the beautiful key right in the middle of everything. I am seeing a problem that is going to be resolved, and it involves people in authority, and my immediate thought is possibly parents or other people who have some kind of weight on the relationship. Maybe some people don't approve of the relationship. That's also a possibility. Like people who are in a position to approve or disapprove can be represented by these authority cards, the Tower and the Bear. And with the Whip, I think it's possible that they don't approve of the relationship, so there can be an issue with that. But the key is a beautiful card. It is a card of solutions, so it's really nice to see it in conjunction with the Whip here. And the Mountain as your top card is a card of potentially obstacles and also distance and coldness. So it's possible that there has been a bit of a cold shoulder situation, or maybe you're physically apart, or maybe you've been away for a while and you now come back into play. The Ring and Tower is beautiful for a long-term relationship, and the Flowers, Key, and Tower is also very beautiful for a long-term relationship. And otherwise, these cards here are generally supportive. It's really this line that is challenging here. With these people in authority who could have issues with the relationship. So let's delve more deeply into these cards by getting into the different lines and see what we get. So the Mountain, Key, and Bear. This can open opportunities in a place abroad. It can suggest opportunities in a different location, but it also involves breaking through obstacles. The Bear and Mountain is a straight up combination to suggest someone who is based abroad. Maybe you are looking at doing something like that. Maybe the relationship pulls you into that. With the Key, it's quite encouraging. It can suggest that you might want to, in fact, explore some of these options. And also, if there was a physical distance between the two of you, then I think with the Key now there's an opportunity to come together. So any way you look at the Mountain as a card of either physical distance or obstacles, there is a solution and like a thawing of the coldness. And that very much comes through with a card like the Flowers. This is one of the brightest cards of the deck, so beautiful and optimistic. And with the Key and Tower, there is a long-term solution, and there is a reunion, and there is resolution, which lasts for the long term. But what is also really interesting about the Key and Tower is that they have a spiritual orientation, along with the Cross and possibly also the clover at times in Lenormand. So there's like a deeper connection here. And also the tree might suggest that. So with the key and tower, we have a deep connection. And it's like there's guidance and things are meant to fall into place and they're meant to be. So the key is really resolving the issues, closing the gaps, bringing you together, finding solutions to problems, whether they are, they're relationship problems, emotional, or that they're practical problems, such as distance and things like that. So very bright prospects. Now the mountain ring and tower is also a beautiful combination, mainly because of the ring and tower. This can have also a sexual implications. It's pretty positive in this sense, pretty powerful as well. But the tower is a card of the long term. And so with the ring here, I think that you can look forward to this relationship lasting for a long time. It can be a commitment altogether. This is the portrait, after all, that gets the ring card. So that is very bright. Now, it's also possible to read the tower as a past card. But again, I think that the issues from the past are going to be resolved. So these are bright cards any way you look at them. And there is also something about the tower. It can be a bit of a formal card. It can bring in the idea of law and administration and things like that. So with the ring, you could be looking at formalizing your commitment. This can be marriage or whatever form this commitment may take for you. So very bright cards. Now the fox, key, and whip. Now I know you're going to tell me this is a challenging line, and it is. But actually, I really like the fox in here. The fox is a clever card. The fox is a solution card. The fox is a card that is very smart and calculating. And when we see it with the key, we're looking at someone who's very clever with strategy. So there is an issue, a problem, probably that involves people in authority or maybe that administrative aspect of things. But the fox and key is going to find a solution. And the fox comes with advice as well. I think you should meet this confrontation or this issue with a lot of diplomacy and calm as much as you can. I think if you lock horns or you put up a fight, it's not going to be as effective as it can be. So the fox really invites you to be calm in the face of the issues, almost really not catching the ball. And overall, the card is also an indication of solutions. So even if what's ahead is a bit of an obstacle or there is a confrontation with someone who has some influence on your relationship, be calm in the face of this and focus on finding a solution. Now, the flower, book, and bear is a wonderful revelation. I feel this could tie into the commitment that is at hand. There is a big news and a lot of positivity and optimism. There are, I think, maybe more than what you've expected. The book is a card of secrecy and things unknown, but there is the key and there is the flowers, and these are opening cards. So they're going to help open the book. And with the bear, this is big news. It's a big deal. So I think some big steps are ahead for you in your relationship. Now, considering this line in terms of these big steps, maybe it's intimidating. Maybe you have to release the past. Maybe the changes that the relationship entails moving forward involves bigger changes than you might have thought. Maybe you have to accommodate certain things in your life. It really comes down to your specifics. But I think the general, the way it works generally is that there's going to be a release of the past. Like we said, the tower is the past. And there might be a disagreement with some people, maybe people who, they're not really on board with your relationship. And that's the next thing that you cross. But I think the relationship itself is solid and supportive. Now, the mountain fox and flowers is, I think, a happy surprise. The fox can be a bit of a trickster, and by itself with the mountain, I would have had, some concerns. But the flowers helps resolve this. So again, this idea of a cold shoulder or maybe playing hard to get, or just waiting for the person to make the next move. Things like that are possible with the fox, because the fox is like a bit of a player card. And with the flowers, there is a softening of all this and a beautiful, lovely connection energy. I have to say, though, that sometimes the fox and flowers can be the type of person who over compliments, maybe a little bit fake, a bit shallow. I usually use the snake for that, but the fox can play that role as well. Now, the ring and book is the combination of a proposal, and often a proposal of marriage, at least classically, and we see it with the key. So again, I'm seeing this very beautiful news and this very positive revelation that is coming through the cards. And the key, like we said, opens up the book, and so this is good news. And I think there could be a confession of love, of deeper interest unfolding. Now, the Tower, Whip, and Bear, very curious line to see in all of this, but I'm really inclined to see what these two cards have in common, which is the idea of authority. People in power, people like managers, CEOs, government officials tend to be represented by these cards. And with the Whip, we see there's an issue here. So again, my first inclination is to suggest that these folks are not really on board with the relationship. Maybe they want to get in your way and they don't approve or things like that. But, you know, with the fox in here, I feel that you don't really catch the ball. And I think you're able to downplay their drama. It just sounds like it's a bit of a drama, what they're pulling off here. And the fox is cool and calm. And what's also nice about the fox is that it advises you to focus on your own self-interest. So take this as a message to put yourself first and to put your desires and your preferences first. I think the key really supports you. I think the relationship is sound. And, you know, people dramatizing about it here, you know, you can sort of, you know, deal with them kindly and focus on solutions, try to understand where they're coming from. But I don't think this means compromising the relationship at all. I think this means really sticking with your relationship. Just, you know, maybe it's almost like you have to handle them a little bit like a child. You know, you sort of have to talk to them nicely so that they sort of come around and, you know, they calm down and they do that stuff, you know. So I think you don't catch the ball. I think you're being really smart about this. I think you know your long-term goals. You know your best interest and where your happiness lies. So definitely go with that. And remember that the key and tower have a guidance energy, like that mysterious, supportive, universal divine energy that could be coming to your help. So I really want you to keep that in mind in the face of this whip that shows up in your portrait, because your relationship looks like it's on a solid footing moving forward. Now, I've been inclined to read these cards in a romantic, personal relationship kind of context, but they work pretty well in work. But in work, they could take on a slightly different meaning, because the Tower and the Bear would very much indicate a boss or a manager and would very much align with a company or an organization that you work for. So what I'm seeing in the context of work is a new offer and a resignation. And your resignation here is going to annoy your boss. So again, I think you have to manage this calmly and nicely, but it's clear to me that a move or a change in the sense could be better for you. This could mean a better position, a promotion, possibly more money, more abundance, and you know, a pursuit of the ladder, I think, through the key and tower. So when we look at work, the cards can take on a slightly different indication, but still a positive one for you, whereby you get an offer and you leave the current situation. So that will rock the boat, but you've got to do what you've got to do, right, Brandberg? So embrace your good, embrace the path ahead. There is an unlocking of potential. There is an opening here. And I think it's the next piece for you, Brandberg. This is it. You know, you're stepping up, whether it's the relationship or the job or There is something about leveling up here for you. Mountaintop, key, tower, bear, boss. You know, we've got the big cards in your portrait, you know, and we have strength. So, you know, the whip is not all bad news. It's a lot of energy, a lot of aggressive energy, which can come in handy, you know. When you're ready to make that change and you're ready to go, you've got to make that change and you've got to go. Pursuing your goals, pursuing your ambitions. So go for it, Brandberg, go for it. Some lovely cards. Let me know how you like this reading. Leave me your thoughts and comments. Be sure to subscribe and share and like the video if you enjoyed it. Stay tuned to Lenormand's amazing messages. I never get used to how on point they can be, especially with my private readings. I never, like every so often, I'll be surprised at how on point the cards come to the question. So leave me your thoughts and comments. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I'm so looking forward to our next reading together. Thank you so much again for watching.